Does your child's attitude around homework sometimes make you want to pull your hair out? Well, you can keep those beautiful locks by implementing what you are about to learn in this video. Hi, I'm Liz Weaver of Learning Success, and I put this video series together to help parents of struggling learners. In this video, we're going to cover strategies to improve your child's attitude around homework. These are neuroscience-based strategies, and they are very easy to implement. You're going to enjoy watching your child's attitude shift towards the positive. If this video helps you, please make sure to subscribe and share it so it gets out there to more parents just like you. Let's watch.
Create a situation where they are winning. A lot of times, you might want to look at what they excel and are successful in. What do they like? What hobbies they like? Allow them to do that with extracurricular activities so they can feel what success feels like. It gives them an opportunity to be successful. And sometimes extracurricular activities are helpful in trying to get them to understand the work that they do on a daily basis in the classroom.
Homework's one of those daunting tasks that as parents, we have to find a way to get it done each and every day. And as a parent and educator, I will tell you it's a vital part of learning. However, it can be something that doesn't come easy to most students. And most students don't enjoy doing homework. So the thing is that kids are in school all day long, and then they come home and have more work. So most of the time their brains are shutting off when school's off, and then they're required to do more work, and you usually get a lot of resistance, especially for students that are struggling in a certain subject or just in school in general.
If you look at current research in education today, it actually shows that the number one learning obstacle for students isn't a lack of ability, it's actually a fear of failure. It's a fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment in front of their peers.
We need to be conscious as to whether we're building confidence or we're enabling arrogance, or even worse, creating insecurities. Academic development is so much more than just academics. For our kids and for our students to respect us, we really need to respect them and make an effort to understand them and approach them as the unique individuals that they are.
An attitude assessment, okay? Do really take a pulse of what are your kids feeling towards school, towards learning. Do they see themselves as just a student and they have to do the work, right? Because if that's the case, it is such a short-term understanding of what they're actually doing in school, right? Their role as a student is going to end. School's going to end.
So often, especially in education today, we focus on what children can't do, on how they aren't meeting standards or they have failed such and such assignment, they're not getting all their work in, and we allow all of the ways that they aren't measuring up to dominate our dialogue. And that doesn't help them feel like they can do it, like they're good at anything, or even feel like they should attempt to do it. So switching that dialogue around and saying to them, okay, well, you understand this, you just need a little more work on that. You have a real strength in this area, let's see if we can build on that. Starting with the positives first and focusing on that allows them to feel like it's okay to make a mistake, because at least you see that they're good at something.
Their role as a learner, right? Of becoming a better thinker and a clearer communicator and a more skilled time manager. Like, these are things that will set them up for life. And school is just the vehicle to do that, right? So that's a get to. The students who see school as not a means to have to get good grades, but as a means to be able to introspect, to connect with their genuine values and strengths and interests and be able to grow. It's selfish, really, right? It's not just about having to do a math sheet to submit it. It's what skills am I bringing to bear on this? It's so much bigger than that, right? So really having an attitude that creates a space to amplify the impact of their actual schoolwork is so important.
So reminding yourself that it's okay to show them you can do this. It's okay to be afraid. Establishing that relationship and that climate of positivity is so important to help children feel like they can do their homework. And then beautiful things happen.
Understanding their strengths. And as parents, we know that better than anybody. We are the expert of our kids, and we can definitely help them to make good choices. And, giving them that, empowering them that, this is their choice to work hard on their homework.
If they only see it as something they have to do that they don't want to, they're really missing the whole bigger picture of what school's all about and of how it benefits them, right? So in order for them to really dismantle some blockages they're having, assessing that attitude is their opportunity to kind of shift away from the negative, I have to do it, to, wow, I get to selfishly to become a better thinker, right? To have a better and happier life starting right now.
What are your choices here? And what are the consequences for your choices? When given the opportunity for students, for children, for our children to choose what they will do and why, and be very, and know the consequences, I think we're empowering them to make decisions in the future. So homework is just one of these small areas that can lead to future empowerment.
It helps if parents validate their kids' feelings when they don't want to do their homework. This respects their feelings. You can even share, oh, honey, I know how you feel. I don't really feel like cooking dinner tonight, but I need to anyway so we can all have a healthy meal. This allows the kids to have their dislike for a certain task, but go ahead and do it anyway.
There are so many reasons and ways that kids and often parents try to excuse away why their kids don't want to do their homework or why their kids aren't doing well in school, right? Everything from learning differences. Well, my kid is ADHD or dyslexic. Those are very important, and I'm not negating that at all. But when we blame something for something that we can't do, we give away our power to that thing. And when kids feel disempowered, they don't want to work. Why would they? Nothing comes of it from them, right? So whether it's, bad teacher, or I'm bad at that subject, or they just don't have a math brain, which I hope none of you actually think, but that's something that we hear. When we make excuses for why they can't do it, we're actually disempowering them. Okay, so we always want to acknowledge the reality of a situation. Maybe they do have a bad teacher. Maybe their learning differences do make it harder, right? All of those things are very valid and very real, but we don't want to let the kids give away their power to those things, because then they become powerless, they're a victim. We want them to feel empowered. What can they do around these things? What can they personally take ownership over, right? And that spurs taking initiative, that spurs self-advocacy, that spurs a lot of beautiful attributes that make for a much more capable and confident thinker. And that's what we want for your kids.
When your child has a negative attitude around schoolwork, it usually makes everything so much harder. Is getting things done harder for you because of your child's negativity towards school? That negativity is there for a reason. It's a protective mechanism, and it can be turned around. What would it feel like if you could wave a magic wand and turn around all that negativity into positivity? Unfortunately, there is no magic wand. Well, not one that works anyway. There are no instant fixes. But the good news is there are strategies that do work. They take a little time and effort, but I guarantee that effort is worth it. Just imagine how your life would be if your child enjoyed learning. That can happen. It's actually natural to enjoy learning. If your child is not, then there's a blockage getting in the way of that. The learning success system can get that blockage out of the way. It's a step-by-step system for removing learning obstacles. Plus, it improves confidence and attitude along the way. How would that feel? Get your free trial today by clicking the link above or in the description.
So the idea is to never allow the pattern or habit to occur, and when it does, to break that cycle. Unfortunately, for so many of us, so many of our students and children, they're already heavily and deeply ingrained in that negative cycle, and we just can't seem to pull them out of it. But don't worry, There's definitely plenty of ways for you to address and eventually to break free from those cycles over time.
What we're trying to do here, I guess, for parents is get them communicating, I'm not saying the better way by any means, but get them communicating from a reward-focused system. So well done for completing that. From a positive reinforcement, so that constant ongoing sort of conditioning that we can give children to help them grow and help them learn. So that's the major sort of way, but also I guess focusing on if they are doing things that they should be doing, like homework and like we're talking about specifically today, is that they should then be rewarded for that. If we can get that going, it feels like they're doing the right thing, and it feels like they are taking part in the right thing that they should be doing.
Positivity and process. Number one, you want to be thinking in each stage that we go through here, how can I associate positivity with homework for my child as much as possible and avoid negativity as much as possible? Number two, understand this is going to be a process. It's going to take time. Nothing is going to get fixed overnight.
In teaching parenting classes, these are my go-tos for overcoming homework resistance. The first and foremost, which tends to be the easiest for children and is research-backed, is giving that positive encouragement to your children when they are doing the things that you want them to do. So catch them in the act of doing their homework all on their own. Let's say they come home, they pull it out of their backpack, they start working on it, and you catch them doing that. Really noticing it, giving them a high five, say, hey, good job. I noticed that you pulled your homework out all on your own and you're doing it. Great job. I'm so proud of you. So really giving that positive encouragement for the behaviors that you want more of.
So subject struggles. When a student struggles with a specific subject, it is a different problem in and of itself. Kids don't like things that they're not good at. And confidence is key to engagement. It's way too easy for kids to get sucked into this psychological trap of, this is above my level. I can't get there. The other kids are there for, English and math, but, I'm there for science, but maybe not English. We need to help them see that you can get there. It just requires effort.
Most kids model the behavior of their environment. Make sure you as parents, counselors, teachers, etc., model some excitement, some fascination in your learning and your work. If you complain about getting up and going to work, or you show exhaustion or a lack of purpose, children pick up on that. And unconsciously they figure, what's the point?
And furthermore, we need to show them and set an example of what that effort looks like. Right? If they hate something during class, they're not going to be able to do it by themselves at home. You have to sit with them and help them through the subjects that they struggle with. If they're not good at it, you can't force them to do it by themselves and then expect them to come out with something that's great. It's just not going to happen. You need to engage them in conversation about it, which means you need to read the chapter. You need to read the book. You need to be able to speak with them about it. Break the task into smaller pieces if it's something that's very overwhelming to them. Incentivize them with rewards in between if they're a younger child. If they do X, Y, and Z for 30 minutes, they get 30 minutes of video games. It's just important to ensure that their level of engagement with the subject matter is where it needs to be.
To think about that positive encouragement in the form of a ratio. So are you giving more positive encouragement versus discouragement? We really want to be on the end of giving more positive encouragement, because we know through research that the more we focus on the behaviors that we want, the more we get them. So notice when they do those things. Notice when they're doing their homework, giving them that positive encouragement.
So we need to think about what we can control and how we can set them up for success. How are we doing that? How are we setting them up for success? What steps are we taking? What's going on when they're trying to do their homework? Can we monitor those situations, or can we at least help to limit the amount of distractions that are going on when they're doing their homework? Not everyone can be physically there when students are working on their homework, but there are things that are in our control that we can affect. We can affect the work environment and the location that they do their homework at. We can set expectations, and we can aid in preparation. We can also consistently be supportive and encouraging. We can set a clear understanding for them of what school time is versus what other time is. It's important for us to make sure that kids understand that there's a time for school and there's not. And we need to also label what and when that time is. Is it an hour after they get back from school? Is it immediately when they get back from school? We need to understand what works for that student. Maybe they need to eat a snack and they need to fuel up before they go and use their brain, or they'll be cranky and they won't engage with the material. We need to help them prepare. We need to help them have the right preparation. So that also means a quiet, distraction-free space with a desk and all the appropriate and necessary resources for all their subjects. Calculators, textbooks, notebooks. We need to help them make sure that they have that stuff there so that they can engage with it in the first place.
And the other one is complete. So we're talking about the completion of a task, how we've actually got to that task, how we've managed it from beginning to end, and how we've actually completed it. I think that's really important, goal in everyone's life is task completion. And that doesn't really matter if it's, making a nice dinner or cutting the grass. You get a completion from, you get a sense of completion from those steps. And I think those are quite nice things for adults, and they're certainly nice for students and children. So if we can get them completing mini tasks as we go, incorporating in the chunking, which is the small amounts of information at any one time, and give them confidence as we're going along with that. Well done for this, that was great, that sort of nice reinforcing language as we're going. That basically will instill a huge amount of motivation, of interest in the subjects, which can be the hardest thing, and confidence to actually sit down and want to do it, which is always the hardest battle.
Learning can actually be fun, it can be creative, and a great source of pride. Remember to praise your children, especially when they improve in an area that is particularly challenging for them. Easier said than done, of course, but language is really powerful because it paints pictures in the brain. Use your language to paint enrolling, empowering, exciting images of working and learning. Use words that reflect tolerance for those tasks or those subjects that are particularly challenging. This is a great life lesson for kids.
Rewarding effort. There's a couple things to know about that. One, all the research shows that when students respond to motivation, it's the inputs, things like effort, attendance, completing assignments. Those are the ones that move the needle on achievement versus rewards for things like outputs, grades and grade point average and those kind of things. And the reason is because kids can control their effort. And so just to get them to do their homework, a lot of times they're stressed about, am I going to get them all right? Or if this homework is going to be hard. If you just give that verbal affirmation of, hey, you worked really hard tonight, I appreciate that. If you give variable rewards, just every once in a while, if they put in a good week of work, say, hey, I'm taking you out for ice cream. And then when they ask why, it's like, hey, you worked really hard this week and I'm proud of you. Just that positive reinforcement of, we reward effort in this family is really helpful. It just means that kids see that the effort's rewarded, that what they're putting in is not going unnoticed, and ultimately people respond to incentives. And so if they see that through praise, through making a favorite dinner, going out for ice cream, or a favorite movie or something like that is the reward for, hey, if I put in the effort and I do what I'm supposed to do, people take notice and my life is better, then they're more likely to do it. So often homework resistance is met with negative reinforcement of punishments and a little bit of yelling or nagging. The positive side of that, when kids do get with the program, can be really beneficial.
Intermittent reinforcement works brilliantly. This is the best way to command appropriate behavior. For example, when they do their homework at the appropriate time or the chosen structured time for a week, then you give them an appropriate reward. If you do this every week, it will wear itself out. The beauty and the magic of behavioral reinforcement is that surprise element.
Is making sure that we're encouraging that growth mindset and also highlighting what they're really good at. So talking to them about the subjects that they are really good at and giving them the opportunity to either start with those or end with those. as well as talking about the subjects that maybe they're not that good at or they don't really enjoy. And again, letting them know that they have the choice as to when they work on those topics, as well as reminding them that if we continuously work on it, we are going to start getting better at it. It's going to start getting easier, and kind of using that moment of not enjoying it or not being good at it as a learning lesson and an opportunity for growth versus just being stuck on those uncomfortable or annoying feelings that cause resistance.
And regarding expectations for improvement, ask the child what he or she needs to improve. You might be surprised what they say, what you can learn.
Thing that I would recommend is that you explain to the child that it's okay if you're not great at this topic right away. We all have to try, and we all have to practice and try to get better at subjects. Some things are harder for some people and some things are easier for some people. So it's okay if you're not excellent at it right away.
So the other thing that we always explore is looking into what their expectations are. So for a lot of kids, when it comes to homework, they're expecting that they always have to have the right answer, everything needs to be perfect, and then that also develops resistance because it's just an unrealistic goal. So explore with them if they feel like it needs to be perfect, if they're feeling like they're going to be embarrassed if they get the wrong answer, and essentially just how they feel about what it is that's expected of them. So definitely letting them know that their best is good enough and that we all fail and we all make mistakes, and that's normal, that's part of the learning process, I think is a really helpful factor and starts eliminating some of those underlying causes.
I would definitely recommend that you use positive encouragement. Make sure that you stay calm and you're patient with them, even if you're still meeting some resistance. This can de-escalate those situations where the child's getting upset, and also avoid using phrases like you're not doing good, or you're not being good, or you're not good at this. Instead, use phrases like, I'm so proud of how hard that you're working. This will go ahead and give them a little bit of praise and encouragement. Hopefully will boost their confidence so that they will feel better about it. But definitely avoid using any kind of negative phrases or body language or frustrations.
One of my favorite quotes came from a school psychologist at an assembly when I was a kid. You can learn a lot more from a few seconds of pain than a few hours of glory. And sort of, the lesson was about consequences, that, sometimes kids need to struggle. Sometimes a kid, if you tell them and force them to study and they're always getting A's and B's, the one time you say, okay, you don't want to do it, fine, take that test tomorrow and we'll see what happens. If they come back with a C or a D, that stings. That's the consequences of their own actions, and they're likely to learn from that. And so recognize, you don't have to win every battle. If you can see, hey, if this project doesn't get done, you're going to get a bad grade, that can be a very powerful motivator for kids. One thing they don't tell us, and with good reason, when we're younger, is no one cares about your elementary or middle school grades. Like, no college will ever look and say, well, you got a C in life science in 7th grade. And so those formative years are kind of useful for, if you've got a kid who's has that kind of internal pride and integrity, and they want to do well and they haven't failed yet because you've been pushing them. Every once in a while, kind of letting them make the decision and then see the consequences of their own actions can be more powerful than anything else. Sort of, then you're not the bad guy. The report card's the bad guy, the test is the bad guy, and ultimately the kid has to take that responsibility for him or herself. And so, let kids fail every now and then. You don't have to win that battle because the reinforcement is coming from the test itself.
Also, you can revoke privileges if they continuously refuse to do their homework. This is grandma's rule, as we call it in psychology. That's, if you don't eat your vegetables, you don't get dessert. Then you can revoke the privilege of a smartphone, a favorite TV show, a play date. That works brilliantly.
Really important opportunity for parents to help kids develop some self-awareness, and that's a really important life skill, because eventually we as parents want our kids to be internally motivated about this kind of stuff, right? We want them to develop their own work ethic and understand when it's really important to complete a project and what their own internal resistance is to it.
I really want to give parents that positive encouragement and say the fact that just you're watching this video, you're looking for ways to teach your children the things you want to teach them. Good job. I'm giving you a big high five and that positive encouragement. Keep it up.
Attitude is everything. The greatest hurdles can be overcome with a positive attitude, and even a small bump in the road seems like a wall with a negative attitude. I hope what you have learned in this video gets your child on the path to a fantastic attitude. Tell us in the comments what strategy you're going to do first. And to get your child's learning obstacles out of the way, start them on the Learning Success System. You can get started for free. Just click the link in the description and I'll see you in the members area.